This is the Ballroom State of Mind podcast, episode 120, Limiting Beliefs, Part 2. Welcome back to the podcast. Last week, I did Limiting Beliefs, Part 1. And a lot of those limiting beliefs, I think I gave you 4, were based or at least inspired by the book, The Confident Mind by Nate Sinzer, which, funny fact, is this week I had a client I was talking to who knows him. So that was a funny connection, and maybe I'll meet him one day because I love this book. I think it's so great. And I think, again, I recommend it to you highly. But let's talk about limiting beliefs part 2. So the ones I'm bringing you today are ones I have specifically heard dancers say in our sessions. And this, of course, is not like a limited list. This is just some that I have commonly heard that I want to bring to your attention. Because the thing about limiting beliefs is that they limit you. And I don't want you to be limited. Okay. So let's talk about these. The first one that I've heard is, if I'm not practicing on my own, I shouldn't keep taking lessons or paying for lessons. Right? Have you thought this? So if I'm not practicing regularly on my own, I'm probably thinking that I'm not getting my money's worth. If I'm not maximizing the investment, then I should stop. And I don't know where this comes from exactly, except all that comes to my mind is like when we're kids and we're doing lessons, we're doing piano lessons or we're playing a sport, and our parent is encouraging us to practice. And it's like, well, if you're not practicing, then I'm not going to continue to pay for these lessons. So there's this inherent belief that if we are taking lessons, then we have to practice, and that those two things need to go together. And since I'm not progressing as I could, this is where this kind of comes from, is if I was doing the practicing, I would be progressing as I could. That would maximize my potential. And since I'm not doing that, that I should stop the lessons. Now, notice how this is all or nothing thinking, that I should be giving my all. And if I'm not, then I should give none. Okay. So instead of some progress, let's do none. So you stop your lessons, or you back off, or you just stop engaging even, which ensures that you will slow down or stop your progress. And so you confirm your belief, okay, that if I'm not practicing, then I'm not going to get the most out of it. So then you go to your lessons and you haven't progressed like you could, and you confirm that belief. As an example, I was taking guitar lessons, and I can't remember if I've told you this story or not before, but I was taking guitar lessons like 7 or 8 years ago as an adult. And I had a half-hour lesson once per week. And I would practice when I could, especially early on, right? You're excited and you want to learn and you want to figure it all out. And especially with guitar, it's like you got to practice because you got to build up the calluses on your fingers. And so I would practice whenever I could. But about 2 years in, I really wasn't practicing much at all. I was just going to my weekly lesson. And I had this same thought. If I'm not practicing on my own, then what is the point of continuing to do lessons? But then I paused and I said, you know what? I'm a grown up and I can do what I want. And I can just pay for a lesson once a week and just do that. And there's nobody here to condemn me for that. So what if I decided that this is okay? What if I decided that I'm wrong about this idea that if I'm paying for lessons, that means I have to practice? And if I keep my weekly lesson and that's all that I do, then I will continue to progress, even if it's slower than I could. So I'm going to give myself permission to practice when I feel like it. It's not like I never practiced. I just gave up this idea that I'm supposed to be practicing some certain prescribed amount. And I'm not going to shame myself for not practicing. After all, I'm an adult. I have 4 kids. We have businesses. We have very full lives. And so actually my time is very limited. So I'm going to just let this be. And I'm going to let the weekly lesson be enough. And that got me at least another year of progress. And it was the accountability of the lesson that kept me going. I was still learning from the lesson. I was still picking up concepts. I was still learning songs, albeit slowly. Some is better than none. And if you need to just coast on lessons for a period of time, maybe we can let that be okay. And I'm not saying, don't hear me say we don't have to practice, okay? I'm not saying we don't have to practice, or I'm not even saying that practicing doesn't matter. You will be better and you will progress faster when you do, okay? No doubt about it. You will get out what you put in. But if you want to keep dancing and you do want to keep doing it and you do want to keep progressing, albeit more slowly, what is the problem with that? What's the rush about, by the way? We're always in such a rush. Like we have to maximize our investment. We have to do all of our practicing. We have to do all of it all the time and get to some certain place by some certain time. And we're just like rushed about it. And I don't know what that's about. Like I'm just planning on dancing pretty much the rest of my life. So I don't know why we got to rush somewhere. But maybe an alternative belief is practicing is just one tool in your toolbox. Coaching sessions are another. Lessons are a tool in your toolbox, as are competitions and performances and many other resources. So if for now one tool slacks, but the others keep going, we will keep moving forward. And no one said you had to sprint. Okay. We don't have to have all cylinders, all firing all the time until the end of time. Okay. That's limiting belief number one that I want to offer you today. Number two that I've heard people say, I shouldn't keep doing this if I'm never going to win. And I hear different variations of this. It's like, I never win. So why am I doing this? Or is this even worth it if I'm never going to win? These are the things that I hear. And if this is a belief that you are espousing, it's a good time to remind yourself why you're doing this. Winning competitions or being quote unquote the best at a performance is one metric that you can use to determine if you're on the track that you want to be on. If we are focused on winning as the main metric and we aren't winning, then we will eventually quit, which might be okay, to be honest, because if you are considering like, why am I doing in this? And it's because I want to win and I want to be the best and I want the external validation of that. And then you're not getting it, then yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to something that we are going to get that external validation if this is not it, right? So it might make sense to walk away if you're not making the podium and you're not collecting all those trophies and medals. Personally, I think pursuing dancing is so much more than that. There is a lot of personal growth and overcoming that happens in our partner dancing. We're learning and we're growing and we're expanding ourselves in a lot of ways beyond just skill. We grow in confidence. We grow in allowing yourself to take up space. We try to get more comfortable just being seen. We can learn to embrace ourselves, embrace our imperfections, and let go of that perfectionism and let go of being so unkind to ourselves. We invest time and money and resources into ourselves. And that sends a signal that we're worth investing in. That actually alone can help build your confidence, start to build your self-worth and your self-esteem. You're paying attention to your desires and you're saying, yes, let's do that, instead of silencing them. We have more social experiences that we learn from and relationship dynamics in a partnership that we have to work through. Partnerships that teach us what we're willing to tolerate in our lives and what we're not. I counsel a lot of people on their unhealthy dance partnerships. A lot. Okay. We get to pursue a goal and we get to get really, really good at something if we want. And achieving can be part of it. I love that part personally. I want to achieve. I do want to win. I do want to have success. But art and creativity, which dance is a large part about, is more about being and expressing and living and having the full human experience. And to reduce it to if I'm winning or not is just really unfortunate, in my opinion. So maybe an alternative belief here is that winning is something, but it isn't everything. And what I get from dancing is so much bigger than a win or a loss. All right, limiting belief number 3. I'll never be as successful as the students with more money or time or resources. Okay. And I've heard this from several clients. It's like, I don't have the money or the resources to like buy more lessons. I can't do 5 or 6 or 7 lessons a week. I can't compete once a month. I can't, have as many lessons when a coach comes into town as the next person. And I can't buy the best dresses and I can't buy the designer dresses off the rack or the designer shoes or pay for the hair and makeup vendor and, have all the bells and whistles. And so therefore I won't be successful. I won't be as successful as them. But I'll tell you what money can't buy. Money can't buy talent. It can't buy resilience. It can't buy passion or determination or work ethic. You can have all the money and all of those bells and whistles and not be any good. I hate to break it to you. Success is built on your mindset. It's built on your effort. It's built on your creativity. Success is built most often on overcoming. You feel like you've got more stacked against you than others might? You think it might be harder for you to get what you want? Good. Okay, because nothing worthwhile is going to come easily. When you believe that money is the key to your success and then you don't think you have enough of it, you're already defeated. You're already setting yourself up. And that's going to show up in your effort because nobody wants to put effort in and work hard if they're not going to get what they want at the end. So if you already believe, I don't have the money that I need to be successful, so I'm not going to be successful, then you're not going to try as hard as you could. Your brain is telling you this story to keep you where you are so that you can avoid the disappointment and avoid pain. And if we blame it on money, we blame it on external circumstances, then it's not our fault. Okay. But listen, many of the greatest stories of success includes overcoming these kinds of obstacles. Do you know how many stories I've heard of wildly successful people in the world who started out poor and they didn't have the resources and they didn't have what they needed and they had to get creative and make it work and find ways to be successful? What if you believed, hold on, you're you? What if you believed, hey, this is me. I'm Amber. I can do this. What if you decided, you know you can do this. You know you're capable. You know you can create whatever you want in your life, no matter what your circumstances are. What if you believed that you could have everything stacked against you? And if anyone can find their way in that, it's you. It's not going to be easy. Sure, but so what? Get after it with what is available to you. If you can only do one lesson a week or one every other week, okay, do that. If you're going to have to make your costume or buy one secondhand, okay, do that. If you have to borrow one or rent one, okay, do that. If you believe that you can reach your goals, provided you don't give up, you will. There's a book, I think it's called Bounce, that talks about this. I only had recently just started it and I didn't get very far in it, but it was talking about access and time and what's possible and that you can make these things happen. It doesn't have to come down to money. Okay. So an alternative belief might be that I can find ways to improve and grow regardless of my circumstances. Progress isn't only about resources. It's about effort and strategy and mindset. And those things don't cost anything. All right. Limiting belief number 4. I heard this one this week. I shouldn't compete or perform until I've mastered every detail. Like until I've prepared enough, until I get it all ready and I feel like it's perfect and I'm good enough, then I will compete. An alternative way I've heard this is I can't believe that my teacher let me compete when I didn't even have XYZ. I didn't even have a good rumba walk. I didn't even have Cuban motion. I didn't even have good weight transfer. And I can't believe my teacher let me go out and perform like that. Okay. And when I hear a belief like this, like I shouldn't compete or perform until I've mastered everything, I just hear delay. You're thinking that the performance or the competition is the finish line. And so we want to be perfect and all of that and get all ready before we do it. And so we just keep delaying it. You're believing that the crowning event is this performance and that all of our preparation is leading up to this crowning event, which feels like a finish line, like I said. But it's when a finish line, this crowning event is when you're going to be your absolute best. And this is true to an extent. Of course, we do want to prepare for these things and we want to prepare as much as we can and get as ready as we can. But what you're missing is that performance is the way to becoming your best. Yes, you must prepare. You must learn and grow and try to become the best that you can in this moment for that performance. You do want it to be the best that you can bring for this moment in time. But it's also the most effective way that I know to become the best that you can be. A performance or a competition is going to ask more of you than if you didn't participate in it. You're going to ask more of yourself, and having other people there, whether that's spectators or the other people that you're competing with, those other participants, those are also going to bring more out of you. It's going to take you to the next level that you can't do without that. And you're going to put yourself under pressure. And this is inevitably going to create more risk of things going haywire. But we need that. We need that pressure. And we need to see what can we create under pressure. It's going to reveal to you where you might still have holes that you didn't know were there. And if you can reveal those holes, you can work on filling them. And therefore, you're better off than you would be having not done that competition or that performance. Nothing can reveal that quite like performing and competing. And the truth is that you're not going to ever have a perfect moment. Okay. We're going to get real close probably at times. But even professionals are continually refining their skills, and it never ends. You'll also gain more confidence from doing the thing. You're going to gain a lot of confidence from preparation, really good, solid preparation. But it takes doing the performances again and again to get good at performing, to get comfortable with performing. The more, the better. You will gain infinitely more from 100 imperfect performances than a handful of well-polished and manicured performances. I want you to have both. Okay, but don't wait until you're ready and you're perfect and you've mastered everything to put yourself out there. I can't remember if I said this in a recent podcast or not, but I was at a dance camp. Forrest Vance was there and he was presenting to us. And one of the things he said was, do you think I just waited to compete and get out there in the world until I was perfect? He said, no, I was shit until I got good. And he was competing all along the way. Okay, that's how you do it. So an alternative belief here is I improve the most by getting out there and performing. Growth happens in action, okay, not in waiting. All right, now here's your last one for today. Limiting belief number 5. If it's not coming naturally or easily, I'm not cut out for it. I hear this so much. We think that if it takes effort, that we're not meant to do it. Now listen, this is silly. And here's a story I have to go along with this. I know someone who recently put their little kids in soccer. Okay. And they themselves were obsessed with soccer growing up, like such a good soccer player, right? And they could not wait for their kids to start. So they put their little kids, we're talking like 4, 5, 6-year-olds in soccer. And guess what? They were terrible. Pee-wee soccer is pretty comical to watch because they don't know what they're doing. And it's all terrible. They're all terrible. And this person that I know promptly took their kids out because they were so embarrassed that they weren't good already. And it was sort of like no kid of mine would be that terrible at soccer. And it seems irrational when we're talking about little kids, right? Obviously, it's like they didn't come out of the womb knowing how to play professional soccer. They're not world-class soccer players without learning anything. But yet that's what you might be doing to yourself. And it looks like this. You'll try something a few times. You'll try a move a few times and it isn't coming along. And so you think, oh, I must not be good at this. I mean, I've been doing rumba walks for 5 years and someone just told me to change it and adjust it. So you might be thinking, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. So this must not be my thing. I should be perfect. I should have it all figured out. I should know already without even having been taught or having to develop it or having to learn and practice and get better. There are some people that it does indeed seem that it comes more easily to them. And we make that mean that if it's coming easily to somebody, that they're meant for it. And I'm not. And this is just wrong. Many naturally talented people don't get past a certain point because they believe, like you, that if I have to work for it, then I must not be good at it. It must not be meant for me. And that's just a lie. Dance is a learned skill. It's a development. You are going to be terrible and do it wrong and do that a lot of the time along the way. It's going to constantly change, constantly evolve, constantly develop. There's no switch that you flip. There's no target that you hit that you finally hit the target. Okay. Everything is learned and everything is sort of an expansion of what you learned before. But you do get out what you put in. And anyone can master anything. And I legitimately mean that. Anyone can master anything if they work at it. It's true. The struggle is a necessary part of mastery. And if you ask anyone who has mastered anything at a high level, 0 of them will tell you it was easy. Some of them had some natural talent to start with. But I promise you, I have a son like this, and I'm a little bit like this. I have a certain amount of natural ability at things, kind of a natural. But every time I and my son and some of my kids who experience this, you hit a point where you have to decide, oh, if I want to get really good at this, if I want to take this to the next level, I have to work at it. I can only coast so far. And if I don't like that thing, if I don't enjoy that thing, if I don't have passion enough for it, then I'm not willing to do the work beyond that point. And I quit and I move on to something else, because being a natural, it takes me about 2 years. I can coast on being a natural for about 2 years and stuff. And then it's like, oh, okay, now I got to work. Okay. And I love dancing enough that when I hit that point, I'm willing to keep going. But nobody who masters anything at a high level got it easily. I promise you, even if they were talented, even if they were natural. So here's an alternative belief. If you want to do it, if you have a desire to do it, that has been implanted in you for some reason, then it is meant for you. You are cut out for it. If you want it, it's meant for you, but you will still have to work for it. Persistence is what will get it. Determination is what will get it. Every dancer struggles at some point, and mastery comes from persistence, not from things being easy. Okay. Now, do you see any of these limiting beliefs in yourself? Have you thought them? Have you heard them? Have you talked about them, even on like a subconscious level? I want you guys to know that there are no limits, my friends. You are as limited as you believe that you are. So pay attention to what you think, because what you think, what you believe will shape your reality. And whatever you believe is true, you will make true. So instead of what you can't do, instead of paying attention to what seems to be standing in your way, focus on what you do have. Focus on what you can do. And most importantly, what's possible. Question what you think is possible. Let yourself be wrong about the limits that you have. Let it be so much more than that. Like, dream big. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it, that you're not cut out for it, or that you're limited in some way. Oh, you didn't think you were actually going to win that, did you? You didn't think you were actually going to make that final, did you? I don't know. Some of you got people telling you that. No. Listen, I believe in you. But more importantly, I want you to believe in you. Do not put these limits on yourself. Sky's the limit, friends. Okay. I love you. Thanks for being here today. Catch you next time.